You're listening to The Monetized Mom, the podcast that teaches moms of faith how to monetize their expertise online to create influence, impact, income, and more importantly, financial independence. I'm your host, Flo Alexander. Let's chat. Hey mama, if you're listening to this, I know one thing about you. You want to be able to exit your corporate career so that you can spend more time with your spouse and kids, have the freedom to travel and live life on your own terms, all while creating real transformation and impact in the lives of others with your expertise. Well, you're in luck. I just released a new case study on the method moms are using to build a profitable online business, make a full-time income from home, and quit their 9-to-5. You can access it now at themonetizedmom.com/study. That's themonetizedmom.com/study. Again, themonetizedmom.com/study. Let's get on with the show. Hello and happy new year, and welcome to the first official podcast episode of 2023. I'm so excited to be here. Today, we're going to be talking all about my 2022 recap, lessons that I learned, top lessons that I learned, glorious lessons that I learned that I want to share with you so that you can go into this year more equipped to really grow your business and be the entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, coach, consultant that you are intended to be. So I'm just going to jump right into these lessons. And I'm going to be really candid because I want you to learn from my growth so that you can make this year the best year ever. Okay, so let's get started. So the first lesson that I learned was to really stop worrying about what other people think. And this was huge because in my head, I really didn't care what people thought, but in reality, I did. So no matter how much we don't think we care what other people think, we actually do. And by we, I mean I. No matter how much I thought I didn't care, I really did. And a lot of this showed up in my content that I created. So it was really censored. And when I say censored, I don't mean like I wanted to cuss and I didn't. That's not the case. That's not the kind of censored I'm talking about. But it was censored in that I wouldn't talk about certain things, or there were certain topics that I wouldn't address. And again, I don't mean like current news events or anything like that. Like I'm not being politically silenced or anything like that. I mean, there were specific topics in business that I didn't talk about because I thought that, such and such might think XYZ. So some gatekeeper of the industry might say something like, who is she to be talking about this? So I was way too concerned with the people that I call the gatekeepers. And again, these are the people who try to dictate who can be in the industry and who shouldn't. So they're the people who say that you have to have like 30 years in business in order to be a business coach. And like, stop. Okay, stop. So I had to really get out of my own way. It was all really in my head because no one actually said anything to me to feel like I couldn't say certain things. Like no one DM'd me and said, you better not talk about this. Like none of that happened. So all of this was actually in my head. And I really had to have a moment where I said, wait a minute, girl, you are tripping. Do you? Like you are a full-grown adult. You have children. You are married. You own your home. Like stop tripping. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. And so I really had to stop thinking and worrying about what people thought about what I put out there and how I did my business and what my business was about. And this even comes down to not just the gatekeepers, but even thinking about the people who are following me on social media. The fact of the matter is I've been on social media, specifically Instagram. Well, I would say Facebook too, for a very long time when it comes to being like a public figure. If y'all don't know, I was Miss Black South Carolina 2013. So I had a public figure page since 2012 when I was in the pageant world. So I've had people following me for years. And I think a part of it was also like, man, these people have been following me for years. And yes, I've transitioned and I pivoted and I'm not really concerned about that. People will fall off. But specifically on like my Instagram, I was concerned, like I have friends who follow me, people from college. And I'm like, I can't post this stuff. Like they know me as this person who went to school for this. They don't know me as this business expert. So I was holding back on even putting business coach in my profile because I was concerned about what people would say. And I was concerned about posting stuff because I'm like, they're not here for this. Like, they are here for, real behind the scenes. They know my legal name. They know my government name. So I really had to get over caring about what people think. And now at this point, at this moment in time, I don't care. I really don't care. And I know a part of that territory comes with losing people, which at the end of the day doesn't matter. I'm running a business. And so I need to do what's best for my business and share the content that I think is relevant to the people that I'm serving. And at the end of the day, my assignment is bigger than everyone else's opinion. So my lesson to you is, or what I want to share with you is that you have an assignment that's bigger than everyone else's opinion. So don't be so concerned about what they have to say. So that was my first lesson. My second lesson was to stop trying to be the expert and just be an expert in my own experiences. And this was so freeing for me, y'all. And I think a lot of times there is this pressure to be the expert, to have all the answers and to have all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed. And that just comes with a tremendous amount of pressure that's unnecessary. I had to let go of the idea that I had to have it all right, because I don't. I instead accepted the fact that I don't have all the answers and I'm still learning as I go. And those are the lessons that I can share. So I shifted my perspective from feeling like I needed to be the expert in online marketing and high ticket coaching, high ticket sales. I shifted that perspective of needing to be the expert to being the expert in my own experience and being able to share my own experiences such that other people can learn from them and be successful in a shorter amount of time that it took me to be successful. So it's a lot less pressure when what you're speaking about is from your own experience instead of having to be the expert for everyone. Here's the thing. You don't have to prove anything with that. You simply share what you've learned and how you can apply it to other people in their journey. And actually because of this lesson, I'll be very candid, like one of my daily affirmations is I'm an expert in my own experiences. Therefore, I can speak with conviction about them. So I'm not afraid to share from my perspective because it's my experience. And so that was just very liberating. A lesson that I had to learn is to stop trying to be the expert. Like, you are an expert in your own experience, and that's all you have to be. So don't put pressure on yourself, more pressure on yourself than you have to. So that's definitely something that I will offer to you is you don't have to be the expert. Just be an expert in your own experiences, okay? Lesson number 3 is to trust yourself. Now, I remember being at a business boot camp for a coaching program that I was in that I'm still a part of. And I remember standing up and I asked one of my coaches a question, to which his response was, whose business is it? And the answer to his question was mine. But he was really telling me that it's my business and I can run it the way that I choose. But instead of trusting myself and my own intuition, I was looking to him for an answer. And here's the thing, having coaches and advisors are great. You need them. You need mentors. You need people to help you along your journey. But at the end of the day, it's your life and it's your business. You have to trust yourself. Trust what God is telling you, because at the end of the day, it's your assignment and not theirs. Okay? So I think in general, we spend too much time looking for validation and direction from other people. Quite honestly, I think society has been designed to rid us of independent thinking, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But the point is, we don't need to have permission to do what we know and feel is best for ourselves, for our families, and for our business. Like we need to be able to trust ourselves. And I feel like some people may have an issue with this. I actually talked to a woman once, and she was telling me that she had come out of a marriage where she was married to a narcissist, and he pretty much put her in a situation where she did not feel confident in any of the decisions that she's made. And so if you come from a situation like that, then perhaps you do have issues trusting yourself and you have to build up that trust. But I will tell you, that's probably going to be the number one thing that you need to have in business is the ability to trust your own decisions, to trust what you know, to trust your gut, to trust what God is telling you. And so that comes with your own personal development. But that's definitely a lesson that I learned. And I will say a huge sign of me really executing on this lesson was literally unfollowing my peers in the industry. And I know that sounds weird, but when you don't necessarily trust yourself, you're always looking for the right way to do something. So you're always looking to this person who's doing it, and you're pulling from their strategy, or you're asking this person and you're taking their strategy instead of trusting what works for you. So I unfollowed all of my peers in the industry because I was in too close of a proximity to wonder if they were doing something right that I wasn't doing, and then inadvertently, taking on their strategy and what they were doing. So you have to trust yourself. And that's one thing that I really had to get over, was to really sit in what I knew and be confident in that and just go with it and figure stuff out on the way. And when I need help, I ask for help, but trusting that I have the skills, I have the knowledge, I have everything that I need to be successful, and I just have to trust myself. So that's something that I offer to you, is that you also need to trust yourself. The fourth lesson that I learned is that you have to enjoy the process and not just the results. Now, I will admit that this was probably the toughest lesson that I learned in 2022, especially as a high achiever. Like, we live for the results. But what happens when you don't get the results that you were aiming for? That's a real tough pill to swallow. And that's one that I really did have to swallow in 2022. I had to learn to really enjoy the process and focus more on it than the results. And here's the thing, like, I really, really, really love what I do. I really love what I do. Like, there has never, ever been a job that I've had ever that compares to the amount of joy and fulfillment that I get from what I do now. But I had to go back to the love for the work and not just the reward. And it's difficult. Like I said, it's very difficult as someone who is a high achiever, someone who likes to check stuff off, who likes to achieve goals. Like, it was very difficult, especially when you put so much work at such a high level to not immediately see the fruit of your labor. That can be really upsetting. But it reminded me of something one of my friends said. One of my former college roommate said this recently. And she said it in relation to gardening, because she does garden, but it was a whole message that I gained from it. But she essentially said, we become too conditioned to getting fruit out of its season that we forget how nature really works. And I was like, that's a whole message, right? We want the fruit in the season that we're doing the work, in the season that we're sowing the seeds. And because we become so conditioned to immediate gratification, that we've forgotten that, like, life works in seasons. And even though I'm working right now and I'm working the process, I might not get the fruit of that labor at that moment. Like, it may be later. And I believe that God can do some things where you get immediate results and all those things. But, the way that nature works, it's not really always set up like that. You have to wait for the season of your harvest. So the reward is inevitable when you do the work. We just got to keep doing the work and being patient. Okay, so that was my lesson number 4. Lesson number 5. This one was also difficult. All these lessons were hard, which is why I'm sharing them with you guys. Number 5 was to appreciate all wins. My coach put it this way: there are no small wins. It's just not a thing. Like, a win by 1 point is still a win. So you celebrate it. And I had to go through this exercise. I want to say we had to do within the coaching program. One of the assignments or challenges to us was to list out, I want to say it was like 50 wins for 2022. And it was so difficult for me. And it's not that I didn't accomplish things in 2022, but I really had to reshape my perspective on what a win really was. Because I was looking at the big things, like the big numbers, the very tangible things. And I had to really take a step back and be like, no, progress is a win. Consistency is a win. Learning something new is a win. And that's the thing that I'll offer to you. Like, these are things that you need to consider as wins as well. So if you struggle with seeing your wins or feeling that like you're winning, you need to see the small wins. Have you been consistent? Have you made progress? Have you learned something new? Have you done something that you've never done? Like, those are all wins that need to be celebrated. They aren't small wins. they are wins, and we celebrate all wins. So I think that anything that moves you in the direction of becoming better is a win. And so we simply need to acknowledge them as such and stop focusing on what we don't have. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but Myron Golden, he's a business coach and a pastor or former pastor. But nonetheless, he did an excellent Bible study on this where he was talking about the fall in Genesis. And in a nutshell, what the serpent did was nothing more than shift Eve's focus from all of the fruit and trees that were available to them to the one thing that they didn't have access to. So God basically told them, hey, you got free reign over everything here except for this one thing. And then what the enemy came in and did was basically shifted her attention, not to the things that she had, the abundance that she had, but the one thing that she lacked or didn't have access to. So too often, I think we look at the one thing that we didn't achieve and forget what we have done. So my challenge to you, just as much as it is a challenge to me, is to really focus on the abundance of wins, the abundance of blessings that we do have, and not the one thing that we don't have. Okay. All right. So those are my top 5 lessons of 2022. Now I want to hear from you. What were your top lessons from the year? Send me a message on Instagram at @TheFoAlexander because I definitely want to hear from you. And as always, I hope that you found this episode helpful. If it was, don't forget to share and give it a 5-star review. And with that, I'll talk to you in the next episode.